Hey there, friends. How's it going? My name's Papa. We got some more Umineko Chapter 2 for you today, which means that the game demo that I had said didn't work out, at least not yet. I haven't received a no, so I guess that's a maybe in the future. I think they'd said their game is supposed to release in, like, this coming weekend, so maybe I'll hear about it this weekend or next week. Speaking of next week, stream might be a bit weird next week. We're getting just like a quick 2-day window put in our office. Unfortunately, that means we have to move all of our computer and desks away from the wall they're putting the window in. So I'm not quite sure how stream's going to look for next week. I might have to do a makeup stream, or we might be able to do it on Friday. We'll have to see. Because it's weather permitting about when they can put the window in. That's housekeeping stuff. Before we get into Umineko, this game has some pretty mature themes, so here's some content warnings for you. This game includes mature themes, including but not limited to death, murder, mutilation, child abuse, any of the above against a minor. If that's not something that you're comfortable with or feeling tonight, please by all means find a place that would make you feel more comfortable. Last time on Umineko, we started with the second chess match, which actually didn't go anywhere, really. So it was the one that takes place in Jessica's room. And Battler confirms a few things with Beatrice. The usual stuff of windows were locked, the door's the only way in, there's no secret doors, confirming that there's no way to pick the lock, that there's no way to open the door while it's locked. In this case, there were 7 keys. Jessica had 1, the servants had 1 each, that's 6 for a total of 7. However, both Jessica's and Cannon's keys were in the room. And what really stumped Battler is he was expecting that Cannon had killed Jessica, locked the door from the inside, and hidden somewhere inside. So he asked Beatrice to confirm, did Cannon die in this room? To which Beatrice affirmed and read yes. And at that point, Battler can think of nothing else and he resigns. I expect we'll come back to that room in another game. Hello, Infern. How's it going? Yes, it's been a while. I've lurked a little bit. I see you sometimes doing Undertale mods. I'm sometimes lurking there, but it's also been a while probably since I've been said anything in your chat. But hello, hope you're doing well. And yes, Amos says, I'm sure someone will redeem guitar as soon as you forget to boot up the Mac. So after that, we all headed back to the parlor, but eventually the servants went into the kitchen under the guise of doing some dishes, but they also wanted to eat stuff that wasn't canned because Rosa had ruled that since we couldn't be sure that the other 6 adults weren't killed with poison, that we should only eat canned food from the time being. Hello, Infern. I'm sorry that the stream was delayed for you. I was saying, yes, it's been a while. I've lurked in some of your streams when you're playing Undertale mods, but I don't think I've said much in those, but I am there watching when you're playing sometimes. I'm sure I haven't made every single stream. Oh yeah, so then the servants decide they're gonna go into the kitchen to wash dishes, which, to their credit, Shannon and Kumasawa do. But then they hear a knock at the back door. It's Cannon, who had been missing, and although we as Battler and us as the audience know that Cannon is dead, the rest don't. So Cannon's there, he's badly injured. They take him into the servants' room, and the doctor tries to heal him. But he's essentially got like a spear head lodged in his chest. It's punctured a lung. There's not really much they can do for him. But at some point, they kind of realize this isn't canon. That whatever this thing is, it's not him. and Genji realizes it and Shannon realizes it kind of around the same time. And the cannon, quote unquote, lunges at Shannon, and Genji pulls her back. And then Goda and Genji are able to pin him against the wall and try to kill him. He turns into golden butterflies and flies away, but not before he kills Shio and the doctor in that fight. And then, of course, they go down to try to explain what's happened to Rosa, but how do you really explain, hey, someone that we thought was canon and looked like canon but wasn't canon came in, we tried to heal them, but then they turned into a demon and attacked us. We had to stab them with a knife, and then they turned into butterflies and flew away. I don't know how you really tell someone that without coming across as a little bit not all there in the moment. So that leaves us with however many dead are we? We're now down 10 people. Leaves us, and we haven't seen Grandfather in a long time. I don't know if Beatrice really counts towards the number of people. For some reason, I doubt she'll ever die. But we haven't seen either of them in a while. So really, we're left with 7 kind of core people and 2 that are doing their own thing. Which brings us to this conversation now, where it looks like Beatrice and Battler are going to have a conversation about this next series.
ジェシカの部屋の推理を前提になかなか素早く組み立ててきたものよ。その方法なら魔法でなくても密室は作り出せよう。
Yeah, so he's going back over the fact that someone could have locked the room from the inside and done stuff and then make it look like it's a locked room, and they talked about how he was suspecting Cannon in the previous chess match.
まずは及第点というところか。しかし実に面白いが、お前の言う方法で犯人がマスターキーを取り返したなら、その犯人はマスターキーをジェシカの遺体から南條が回収したことを知っていたことになる。
言われなくても分かってるぜ。
So now they're talking about the concept of what if someone stole a master key off of someone, but then, well, they would have to know who has the master key.
あの時、あの場にいた人物以外知り得ない情報だって言いてんだろ。
That's a good summary.
この第三の密室があっさり破られちまったもんで、そういう手で俺に闇を言うしかねえんだろ。同じネタの繰り返しは芸がないぜ。
Even though I was acting tough, the move of the witches hurt bad. I could feel cracks forming in the thing I most wanted to deny. He's trying to close in on me from 2 directions. On one hand, there's the frontal attack, where she tries to force me to believe in witches using locked room tricks that only a witch could do. And on the other hand, there's the rear attack, where she tries to lure me into thinking it would be better if there was a witch by strengthening my suspicions of those close to me. The first locked room, the chapel, she'd used the frontal attack, but it hadn't worked on me. It's undoubtedly why, with the second locked room and now the third, she started to change the direction of her attack. However, the fact that she was changing the direction of her attack also proved that my resistance was working a little. And she had surely given up on the frontal attack because she couldn't just win directly with it. I tried to force myself to accept my own position by thinking that. It seemed that the witch had seen through these thoughts of mine long ago.
成功法は書かぬ。絡めては成功法と同時に進めてこそ意味がある。絡めてのみに出するは、手段が目的となった時に起こる愚策に過ぎぬぞ。
そうです。じゃあ、お得意の赤で、 何者かが使用人室に隠れていたを復唱してもらおうじゃないか。
その必要はない。お前の推理の前提は今から崩れる。
拒否かよ。やっぱり誰かが隠れていたんだな。
ローザが今からお前の前提を崩す。まあ耳を傾けてみよう。
Okay, so this confirms that this battler can hear, so they literally are like pausing time to have this conversation. It seems Beatrice kind of knows what's going to happen, whether that's just intuition or she actually knows. And they can resume time, and this battler can overhear stuff that maybe he couldn't have heard by his character in the actual story.
信じてください、ローザ様。確かにここに2人の遺体を安置したんです。この床の真っ赤な血は彼らのものなのです。
Oh yes, I forgot to say that they're just like missing now. Auntie Rose began to search through various objects around the room, her back to Goda-san as he cried out in supplication. Eventually, she found something and for a while stopped moving.
ローザ様、私たちは断じて嘘などついては、間違いなく2人の遺体はここにあったんです。
静かに。死体を隠した本人が死体はよそに持ち去ったと告白しているわ。
For those of you keeping track, we're over 25,000 clicks.
これでね。
Rosa showed them a single sheet of paper over her shoulder.
それは一体、まさか礼拝堂にあったのと同じ紋章入りの封筒の手紙？
ええ、そうよ。ここに堂々と置いてあったわ。読むわね。
後宮家の皆様、黄金の碑文の謎解きはいよいよ佳境に入りましたでしょうか。皆さんに私を止めることができる唯一の方法が碑文の謎を解くことなのです。それ以外のいかなる方法をもってしても私と儀式を止めることはできません。くれぐれも皆さんの目的をお間違いなきようよろしくお願い申し上げます。私を探そうとも無駄、私から逃れようとも無駄、私を否定しようとも無駄なので、黄金のベアトリーチェ。
推進。2人の遺体を儀式にお借りします。後ほどご返却いたしますのでご容赦をお願いいたします。あとこの鍵は皆様のものですのでご返却いたします。
As Rosa read that aloud, the contents of the envelope lay exposed in the palm of her hand. They were 2 master keys. Master key that Nanjo had found in Jessica's pocket, which had originally been Kanon's and Kumasawa's master key.
なんだと？ってことはどういうことだよ。ふざけんなよ、またかよ。またマスターキーを持ってる使用人しか疑えないってのかよ。
わらわは赤では言ってはおらぬぞ。彼らがこの部屋に施錠をして去った時、この部屋に何者かが隠れていた可能性を
ベッドの下にでも隠れれば死体をどこかへ運び出すのはできないことじゃない。しかしそれじゃ施錠ができない。わざわざ手に入れたマスターキーをここへ置いてっちまってる。そうだ、忘れてた。この部屋の本来の鍵である使用人室の鍵はどうなっている？
それなら使用人室の奥のキーボックスに収められている。
Okay. So we got the servant's room puzzle. Servant's keys are in the key box in the center of the room. 2 bodies were there but are missing. Letter, sealed letter in locked room with 2 missing master keys.
使用人室の鍵は数本あるが、そのすべてがキーボックスに収めら
All
れ
of
ている。
those.
ってことは、ジェシカの部屋の鍵の時と状況は何も変わらないってことか。
Yeah, if you like murder mysteries, that's what we're here for.
使用人も便利なマスターキーがあれば不要な鍵はわざわざ持ち歩かないもんな。キーボックスにしまわれっぱなしになってるのも納得だぜ。
その他の条件も何も変わらぬ。出入りは唯一の扉と唯一の窓から以外は不可能。故に隠し扉などの不正規な出入り手段は否定される。
Only access is door or window.
喜べ名探偵ども。そしてそれらはいずれも施錠されていた。
Both of which were locked.
扉も窓も施錠時にはいかなる出入りも許さ
All
ない。
our standard stuff.
つまり施錠を維持したまま扉を外す、隙間を作ってすり抜けるなどなどは通用しないということ。当然だが、扉の解錠は使用人室の鍵とマスターキー以外は不可能。
Still pretty standard stuff.
毎回これを読み上げるのも面倒だの。今度これをまとめて一言に略す言葉でも考えよう。
だがこの部屋に誰かが隠れていたことは復唱できねえだろ。しかしそれだけでは密室の扉が破れない。ああ、クソクソ。ダメだダメだ、全然ダメだ。
お得意のチェス盤をひっくり返すとやらはどうした？自慢の陳説をぜひ披露してみよ。
チェス盤を俺が犯人ならどうする？死体をどこかへ運び出す、手紙を残す、内側から鍵を閉める。ここから何かの方法で。くそ、そんな方法はあるのか？扉と窓以外からは外に出られないと赤で言われちまってる。あ。
At that moment, I got it. I'll give people a second. 'Cause I don't have it. Unless there's the window locks from the outside or something. Or someone locked the window after I got out, and then they locked... No. Carry the corpses, leave the letter. Not rely on a hidden door. In other words, not even able to escape. That's it. This isn't a question, it's an answer.
ベアト、復唱要求の前にお前の言う隠し扉の定義を確認したい。
何を思いついたや。よかろう。隠し扉とは知らぬ人間が認識できぬ出入り口のことで
So
あ
the
る。
implication here is that if someone could recognize it as an entrance or exit, I guess by sight, it would
そ
count.
んなこと子供でも知っておる。
つまり部屋の外に出られなかったらそれは隠し扉じゃないってことだよな。
ほう。
But if it's like a trapdoor that keeps you hidden, but inside the room, that doesn't
そう
count.
きたか。
俺は犯人は密室から抜け出したものだとばかり思っていた。違うんだ。犯人だって密室から脱出できなかったんだ。だから隠れてやり過ごそうとした。
I'd use this theory for the second locked room, the reason that Kennen-kun might have done this. I'd given up on reasoning when I was told that Kennen-kun was killed and read. Next, I'd reason that if there had been a third person in the room, it would have been possible for them to escape through a hidden door. Yes, as long as that hidden bookcase doesn't let you out of the room, but let's say it's an extension of the room, like a closet or something, I think that's the angle we're going down. That was when for the first time the claim had been made and read that no hidden doors exist. But I'd learned just now, these hidden doors the witch was talking about referred to things that made it possible to get into or out of the room. In other words, things that didn't permit entry or exit to the outside and also wouldn't be noticed by people who didn't know about them, wouldn't fall under the definition of hidden door. In other words, if there were, for example, something like a hidden shelf or a secret closet, that wouldn't be defined as hidden doors. In other words, the third person in Jessica's room was hiding there waiting for us to pass by. How pathetic, just a little playing around with words. This method, it looks like even I can manage the third locked room, the servant room. If there's a hidden shelf under the bed or anything like that, that would be enough. The culprit's hiding somewhere waiting for us to leave. The culprit is also trapped in the locked room even now, which means at this very moment, the culprit is still hiding in the servant room holding their breath. That means, what the hell? Even though we've been tortured with the locked room 3 times, in this very moment, we've actually gotten the culprit in checkmate.
ようやく見えてきたぜ。くらえベアト。不詳要求。この部屋には俺たち以外の誰もいない。俺たちってのは俺、ジョージの兄貴、マリア、ローザおばさん、ゲンジさん、ゴーダさん、シャノンちゃんのことだぜ。どうだ、言えねえだろ。ほう。痛えとこ疲れただろ。拒否なら拒否と言いやがれ。次行くぜ。不詳要求。
I don't know how they're hiding in this room. But if that's a fact, then this also resolves the second locked room, Jessica's room, at the same time. I've finally caught her by the tail. With this, I can explain everything. Witches don't exist, I don't have to doubt anyone. Alright, starting now, I'll flip it over. The next thing I'll request you repeat is...
この部屋にはお前たち以外は存在しない。
Dang it.
お前たちの定義とは、バトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、ゴーダ、シャノンのことを指す。ジェシカの部屋に話を戻す。ジェシカの死体発見時、ジェシカ、バトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、
So we're getting
ゴーダ、
additional
シャノン、
truth
クマ
of
サ
the
は
previous
男女のみだ
case.
った。
This was also true for the second case. Now, in this one she was very specific about at the time of corpse discovery. Exists here implies the present. Yeah, I got a whole notepad. I keep track in Discord. We have a whole channel where I put all of the truths in red, as well as the premise, and I spoiler all of it. So if people like miss a stream and want to like look at it and try to solve it before seeing the answer, they can do that. Although, as we've seen from the second one, sometimes we don't know the answer at a certain point in time, and we'll have to come back to it at a later point, I presume.
おっと、死体のジェシカももちろん含む。よって、ジェシカの部屋の件、そしてこの使用人室の件の両方について、そなたが認識していた以外の人間は存在しない。誰も隠れていない。
It just straight up says no one is hiding. Okay.
さらに言おう。扉は鍵を使用せずに外から施錠する方法は存在しない。
Okay.
窓については外からはいかなる方法でも施錠する方法は存在しない。
I mean, hiding in plain sight, like if they were just a person, that would probably be fine, but she's made it very clear that at least all the people he's listed aren't there. Which I guess also indirectly confirms that they are still themselves and not like a demon version of themselves.
たは無能だ。
Boy, didn't need to call him out like that. Where is Kinzo? We do not know. Last we saw, he was in his office with Shannon and Goda, I believe, at the time of Jessica and Cannon's murder. Also, I don't know how you laugh in red.
バカ野郎。それじゃ本当に3つじゃねえかよ。せっかく思いついたのに。お前が隠れていたんなら全て説明がついたのに。
Okay, next question I would have is, was there no way to insert the letter under the locked door? So you take the corpses out, you lock the door, put the key in the envelope, slide it under the door. Is there not enough space to do that? 'Cause she said it was just lying out in the open.
トリックを打ち破
She
れた
didn't
と
necessarily
思った
say
ってのに。
floor, but...
くそ。
It's no good, no good, no good, no goddamn good. For a second I thought I had it. Let's see. No humans exist that you were not aware of. No one exists in this room except your group, and she defines the group as this set of people. No humans exist you are not aware of. No one is hiding. Yes, no humans. Now, unless you think an animal did this, because really what this comes down to is Beatrice wants Battler to admit that it was done with magic, and Battler wants to disprove that magic could do this, which therefore limits him to saying only a human could have done this. And yes, while we're at it, you are
つい
incompetent.
でに言おう。そなたは無能だ。
Beatrice, you bitch. I thought you were all smoke and mirrors playing word games that made clever use of red. I was certain you just cleverly deceived me. Just when I thought I'd seen a light in the darkness, it disappeared. It just disappeared, swallowed up by a blood-red sea. Red, 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 red. Just for you, Sam says there will be a you are incompetent as well as just laughing at you. No one is hiding. There's no hidden door, there's no way to trick the doors or windows while they're locked. You just proven that it's all impossible. I don't know how she speaks in subtitles, but somehow she's speaking in subtitles. Has the devil's proof been pulled off with a frontal attack? Impossible. This is impossible.
どうしたのだ、後ろ宮バトラー。魔女を否定する気で満々だったじゃない。そんなところで這いつくばって悔し涙を絞り出してどうしたんだい。ああ、それはとっても素敵な方法。わらわを笑い転げさせて笑い涙の海で溺れ殺してやろうというのは確かに素敵。実はそうなんだろう。わらわを笑って笑って笑い殺してやろうって手なんだろう。後ろ宮バトラ
ー。何が魔法だ。魔女なんて絶対に否定してやる。お前なんて絶対に信じない。魔法の力でみんなを面白半分にいじめ殺してるなんて絶対に認める。
なあ、 あバトラー、いじめすぎて悪かった。わらわ側からチェス盤をひっくり返してやるぞ。お前に代わってお前側の最善手を教えてやるよ。聞きたい？
ふざけんな。聞きたくねえ、聞きたくね
ジェシカの部屋の件、そなたは実に良いところをついていたのだぞ。隠れてやり過ごそうとした。これは実にいい着眼だった。だがなぜそれをカノンと19人目のわらわにしか考えなかった？そうか、隠れてやり過ごすの、隠れてが邪魔だったから考えが至らなかったか。ほーら、もうわかるだろう。
So, where's Kinzo again?
ジェシカだよ、ジェシカ。
Jessica were the culprit. A farce like this could be easily constructed. She killed Cannon and carried him off somewhere. Then she played dead and let us walk by. That's ridiculous. Dr. Nanjo definitely checked that she was dead. Was Dr. Nanjo an accomplice too? That's wrong. I'd also made sure that Jessica was really dead. Sure, I'd never performed an examination of a corpse before, but she was definitely dead. I think she was dead. No, she probably, surely, definitely, at least I think so, but she had to be, no, she was dead. She was dead.
ジェシカもグルなのよ。そして検視をした南條もグル。ならば第三の密室など茶番だろうが。
Yeah, then it's simple. Dr. Nanjo's an accomplice. In other words, he was on the culprit's side. In other words, he was never killed in the first place. See, these should be basic facts he should establish. 2 people were killed in this room, yes or no? And the body disappeared, but he wasn't in the servant room in the first place. Then this Kumasawa Bachan who disappeared with him is also an accomplice. That's not all. Servants who are going along with that story, Genji-san, Goto-san, even Shan and Chana are accomplices. And the one who stole the key from Marie's handbag was Jessica. No, it's also possible it's George Aniki. After all, if Shan and Chan was on the culprit's side, then George Aniki would automatically be on the culprit's side as well. Wait a second. Just wait a second. They're all wolves. They're all wolves. Not only am I drowning in an ocean of bright red blood, there are packs of wolves clamoring on the banks, whose blazing eyes tell me if I crawl out, they'll eat me. Which way should I die? Will I have everything denied and drown in the bright red sea? Will I know the truth and have my whole body chewed to bits by the wolves? It's either one hell or the other. I can't choose.
だからこそわらわが言う。さあ後ろ宮バトラー、ひざまずけ。そして永遠の忠誠を誓ってわらわの靴を舐めるがいい。わらわを認めれば全ての謎に決着がつく。
Why are there 2 of
わ
you?
らわの力をもってすればどのような密室も生み出す。そして打ち破れる。バトラー、力ある者に屈服する喜びに身を委ねたくはない。そなたはわらわの一番のお気に入りの家具にしてやるよ。そなたを愛して愛して灰になるまでわらわの玩具にしてやるよ。
I'm not putting all of that in the notes for this locked room. I think we're gonna resign.
これではっきりしたわ。もう疑いようもない。
は？と言いますと？
あなたたちが死んだという2人はここにいない。そしてベアトリーチェからの手紙があり、親切にも死体は持ち去ったと告白してくれている。そういうことよ。もう茶番は飽き飽きしたわ。
As Auntie Rosa yelled this, she looked over at everyone with a harsh expression.
茶番ってどういう意味ですか？私はジェシカちゃんの部屋で言った信用できるのは自分自身と死体となって見つかった者以外いないってね。そして死体が見つからない以上あの二人が殺されたことを認めるわけにはいかない。
待ってください、ローザおばさん。それはどういう意味ですか？
南條先生と熊沢さんは死んでないわ。生きている。殺されたということにしてこの屋敷のどこかに隠れているのよ。私たちを襲うためにね。
なんでそんなことがわかるんですか？郷田さんたちが嘘をついていると言うんですか？
ローザ様、この郷田、いえ後ろ宮家使用人一同、誓ってそのようなことはいたしません。
あなたたちは南條先生たちが殺されたでも死体がない以上それを信じるわけにはいかない。あなたたちが口裏を合わせてそういう嘘をついている可能性があるのよ。あなたたちの無実を信じる方法はちゃんとあるわよ。南條先生と熊沢さんの遺体が見つかることよ。それが見つかったら私はあなたたちの話を聞いてみようという話でも見つからない限りあなたたちは狼であることを否定できない。あんたも黄金に目がくらんであの魔女に買収されたんでしょう。そんなに金が欲しい？そうなんでしょう。一生遊んで暮らしたいの？そんな人生に何の価値があるのよ。
ローザ様、私たちはそんな。
黙りなさい。そしてシャノン、それ以上近づかないで。10年も恩を受けながらそれをあだで返すなんて容赦なく引き金を引くわよ。
そんなのって言います。
ローザおばさん、それは暴言だ。この部屋で殺人が起こった。そして犯人が死体を持ち去った。彼女たちはそれを正直に申告しているだけだ。
Shannon had finally broken down in tears. She'd sacrificed 10 years to the Ushirmiya family, sacrificed 10 of the most brilliant years of her life. She believed that she'd built up a friendly relationship with Rosa as well, and this is how she was treated. You could kill a person without using a knife. It wasn't just George Anarchy. Even I could recognize that Shannon Chan had been stabbed deep in her heart, as blood by the name of tears flowed out.
シャノンさん、下がって。ローザ様、確かにこのゴーダはお勤めして日も浅く信用を勝ち得ていないのは分かります。しかしせめてシャノンさんだけでも信じていただくわけには参りませんか。彼女は10年間も後ろ宮家に奉仕を捧げて参りました。このゴーダを信じろとは申しません。せめてシャノンさんだけでも信じてやっていただくわけには参りませんか。
But I don't understand anymore. I don't understand. We can't seek an answer without suspecting them. That's it. Bit by bit I'm starting to understand. Because we seek an answer, that's why everything keeps getting stranger. We don't need an answer. These are all strange murders committed with a bizarre magic by the 19th person, the Witch Beatrice, as she follows a creepy ritual. Isn't that good enough? I don't want to suspect anyone anymore. Shannon and Goda-san were protesting their innocence half in tears. Genji-san quietly stopped that.
よしなさい。ローザ様の言うことはもっとも死体を見つけない限り、南條先生と熊沢の無実を。
That's right. By Rosa-san's argument, if the corpses could be found, then the innocence of at least those people could be proved. But only the people who were corpses. Even if they searched around the mansion and found the corpses, in the end, their own innocence would not be proved. They'd abducted Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san, killed them in another place, and locked the room with their own master keys. Unless the locked room could be broken by a method other than that one, it would be impossible to prove their innocence. But that couldn't be done. They only had one chance to prove their innocence. That can only happen when they meet with the culprit, become corpses, and are reunited with Auntie Rosa. That's messed up. Innocent if they die, guilty as long as they live, almost like a witch's trial. Alright, the enemy's a witch, so that makes it okay. There are no pets in the mansion that I'm aware of.
ローザさん、私たちは後ろ宮家にお仕えする家具です。私どもを信用されるもされないもまた、たとえどのようなご評価をいただこうとも、最後の時までお務めを続けるのみ。I wonder if I could change my captions to be in red.
あなたは本当に使用人の鏡ね。
I don't think the witch counts as a human.
お父様が心を許すのもよくわかる。そんなあなたまで疑わなくてはならないなんて本当に心苦しいわ。
Genji-san stuck his hand into his pocket and pulled out a master key. He set it on an adjacent table.
私は信頼の証としてこれを預かっていると信じてそれを失ったなら、これをお返しするのは当然かと思います。
それはいい判断ね。今日何度もあなたたちが疑われてきた最大の根拠はそれを手放せば疑いが晴らせるのではないかというのはまあ悪いことじゃないと思うわ。
二人とも。
Genji-san looked at Goda-san and Shannon-chan. Two of them nodded and set their own master keys onto the table. Auntie Rosa laid the two master keys that had come out of the envelope on top. That all 5 master keys were gathered in this place. In other words, this was proof that all the servants' service until today had been negated. Even the final honor that should have been permitted had been stripped from them.
マリア、その手提げを貸しなさい。
Auntie Rosa snatched Maria's handbag, tossed all the master keys in there noisily, and lifted one out and held it up for all to see. She was announcing that she had all of the master keys.
これで満足かい。ローザおばさん、これでマスターキーはローザおばさんが持つものだけだ。これで満足なんだろう。
ええ、満足よ。たとえ全員が信用できなくても私は私自身だけを信用することができる。その私が銃とマスターキーを独占できた。これで私はもう誰も疑わずに済むの。あなたたちも嬉しいでしょ。これでもう疑われずに済む。
Then Maria, who had looked like a spectator off by herself, sneered at her mother. Auntie Rosa reacted nervously to that laugh and turned around.
鍵なんか関係ないよ。ベアトリーチェは魔法で扉を開けられる。鍵なんていらない。そんなもの誰が持っていたって持っていなくたって関係ない。
その笑い方をやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
Lockpicking is a thing, but so far every room we've gone into basically has a red truth that says you cannot pick this door by any means other than the keys.
なーに、バトラ君。
I just cut between the two of them. No, that's not it. I was on my knees and hugging Maria's head. I was crying.
もうよしてくれよ、ローザおばさん。
I think magic is excluded because they're talking about there's no physical way to open the door. But if there was magic, whether you're physically opening the door or just teleporting yourself in.
マリアが正しかったんだ。
何を言っているの？
マリア、疑って悪かった。信じなくて悪かった。
バトラ。
全部 魔女の仕業だったんだ。魔女のトリックとかミスとか、どうでもよかったんだ。ただ、ベアトリーチェっていう魔女が実在して、本当に魔女だっただけなんだ。それも、俺は信じなかったから、こんなにも苦しくて、悲しくて。
アトラは、ベアトリーチェを信じてくれる？
ああ、信じる。ベアトリーチェはいるんだ。そして、不思議な魔法を使う。
アトラ。
Maria let go of my hand, and then she was the one holding
そ
my
れでい
head.
いんだよ、バトラ。ベアトリーチェはいたの。
Was she saying it in the past tense?
バトラがなかなかそれを信じられなかったから見えなかったの。魔女はいるの。
Okay, now she's saying it in the present.
もうすぐ来る。バトラはベアトを信じてくれたからきっと黄金鏡へ招かれるよ。もうすぐだから。もう何も怖くない。怖くないよ。マリアと一緒にお手手をつないでずっと一緒にいよう。一緒に非分の謎を考えよう。ベアトの問題を考えよう。ベアトは最初から言ってるよ。この問題を解いて遊ぼうとしか言ってないよ。
ああ、そうだったんだ。犯人探しなんて全くの時間の無駄だったんだ。俺たちはただ魔女を信じればよかった。
After softly brushing my cheek as my tears kept dripping down, Maria kissed my forehead as soft as a feather. For just that instant, Maria's smile, which I had once thought was creepy, looked like an angel.
マスターキーはお返ししましたが、
And Genji's
私
like,
どもの後ろ宮家の
well,
忠誠
getting back to
は変わ
reality.
りません。客前は以後、お許しがない限り立ち入りません。どうかローザ様も客間を内側より施錠なさってください。
本当に殊勝な人ね。台風が過ぎ去ってこの島に再び私たちは再び互いを信頼し合えるのかしら。
もし再びの信頼を賜えるのでしたら。
そうね、私たちは必ず分かり合えるわ。海猫の鳴く頃に。
この部屋は警察が来るまでこのままにした方が良いでしょう。ローザ様、施錠をお願いいたします。私たちは厨房へ戻ります。何かございましたらいつでもご用命ください。
ありがとう。あなたが狼だったならなんてシャーシャーとのたまうのか。そしてあなたが羊だったならあなたを狼の檻に放り出して。
家具は家に運命を委ねます。命を落とすことになろうとも。それによってローザ様の信頼を再び勝ち取れるならば、それはとても光栄なことです。
できることならばあなたたちが台風が過ぎ去るまで元気でいることを願っています。これは全て台風が奏でる暴風と降雨の競争曲。演奏が終われば幕が下り、私たちは再び手を取り合えるに違いない。海猫の鳴く頃に。
Auntie Rosa nodded in response. Genji-san turned on his heels. He left the servant room. Koda-san's face was streaked with tears, but as he had listened to Genji-san's words, maybe he had managed to sort out his heart. His face had been truly shameful, but it had returned to the face of the Koda-san we knew well.
私も厨房に控えております。何かございましたらいつでもご用命ください。温かい食事をお望みでしたらいつでもこの号だ。
ありがとう。あなたには明日の朝食を頼みたいわ。明日の昼前には船も来るでしょう。今までありがとう。六軒島で唯一の楽しみがあなたの食事だったわ。
かしこまりました。この号だ。最高の朝食を用意いたします。どうか 明日の朝を楽しみにしてください。
ありがとう。シャノンちゃんも明日の朝に美味しいコーヒーを飲みながら仲直りをしましょう。ジョージ君。
僕も彼らと一緒に行く。
いいんです、庄司様。どうか客間にお戻りになってください。もうマスターキーは他にありません。だからローザ様とご一緒に客間にいれば誰にも脅かされません。
そうね、そういうことになってる。客間に私と一緒にいるのが客観的に考えて一番安全だと思うわ。でも無理に一緒にいろとは言わない。ジョージ君はジョージ君の安全だと思う場所にいればいい。ジョージ君ももう大人だものね。明日の朝までどこで誰と過ごそうと自由だもの。
そうさ、僕は僕の判断で誰と夜を過ごすか決める。
兄貴。
バトラ君はローザおばさんと客間にいるんだ。きっとそれが客間の外はそれに比べたら安全ではないと思う。ならそんな場所にいる彼女を僕は一人にしておけない。
俺は決してシャノンちゃんや他の使用人を、いや誰かを疑ってるわけじゃないんだ。誰も疑いたくないんだ。遺産？黄金？そんなのくだらねえじゃねえかよ。そんなので殺し合いなんてあるわけねえじゃねえかよ。
バトラ君の心が美しいことは僕が一番知っている。誰も君を責めない。誰も。
兄貴。
大丈夫。バトラはマリアが守る。マリアと一緒ならベアトリーチェでも手出しできない。
That's not how the first chapter ended, but sure.
だってマリアはちっちゃくても魔女だもの。
マリアちゃん、バトラ君をよろしく。さあシャノン、行こう。
はい、ローザ様。それでは失礼させていただきます。ご用命がございましたらいつでもお呼びつけください。
さっきはひどいことを言ってごめんなさいね。明日の朝まで許さなくてもいい。でも明日の朝になったらもう一度謝らせて。
はい、ありがとうございます。
George Anakin and Shannon Shem left the servant room together. Now only Maria, Auntie Rose, and I were left in this disgusting blood-stained room. Till Genji-san disappeared, till Goda-san disappeared, till George Anakin Shannon Shen disappeared, we stood there in a daze. After their presence and their footsteps had disappeared completely, Auntie Rosa giggled at them, as though she just remembered something pleasant.
何も信用できないわよ、家具どもが。
That one sentence made me choke.
なんでそんなことを言うんだよ。
マスターキーは5つで全部。そんなの誰が信じるの。どうせ複製の鍵があるに決まってるのよ。彼らが懐から鍵を出したくらいで信用なんかできるものか。
そりゃあねえぜ。その鍵を置いたってのはよ、単にあんた彼らの今日までの苦労を全て台無しにして怪我して踏みつけて、その挙句としてその鍵を手放させたんだぜ。その捨て台詞はなんだよ。ここまでして見せてなおまだ信用できないってのかよ。あんまりだぜ、あんまりだぜ、そんなのって。
悪魔の証明なのにマスターキーは全部で5つ。そんなこと証明不能なのよ。マスターキーが5つあることはここに置けば示せる。でも5つ以上存在しないことは証明できない。そんなことは悪魔か魔女にしか証明できないのよ。
もうやめてくれ、もうやめて、頼むよベアトリーチェ。今すぐ現れてくれ。そしてローザおばさんに赤で
マスターキーは5本しかないって言ってやろうよ。5丁だよ。悪魔にしか証明できないんだよ。魔女のお前なら証明できるんだよ。頼むからベアト、ここに現れてローザおばさんに、マスターキーはそれで全部だから、もうみんなを疑わなくていいんだって。
マスターキーは5本しかない。マスターキーは5本しかない。これはどうしたことか。わらわがいくら口にしてもローザに届かぬ。どうやらわらわの存在を否定しているやつがまだいるから聞こえないみたいだ。後ろ宮バートラー、
認めるよ。お前はいる確かにいる。だから5章だよ。もうこんなのはやめてくれ。もうやめて。
言葉だけでは届かぬぞ。態度で示せ。わらわの家具になると心から誓え。できるか？
He does that. I think I have to update my furniture
服を脱
command.
げ。裸になるんだよ。そして
He
両
does
手を
that.
ついて地
I'll
に
have
入る。
to end stream.
着衣は霊長にのみ認められた証だ。貴様は今から家具になるんだよ。だからその資格を失う当然のこと。そしてひざまずけよ。わらわの靴に舌を這わせろ。できるか？できるんだよな。そうしたら現れてやるよ。赤で言ってやる。マスターキーは5本しかないって。ああ、でも分かってる。誇り高きお前がプライドを捨てられるわけがない。それでもいいんだよ。十分なんだよ。ちょっとグラーってきただろ。靴を舐めてもいいか。一瞬思っただろ。すぐにそれを否定して自分を恥じただろ。その表情が見れるだけで最高に素敵な気分なんだよ。ざまあねえ顔だよ。鏡で見てみろよ。裸になって靴を舐めてる最低なお前が映ってるぜ。見えるかよ、後ろ宮バートラー。
I think she's glitching. We just had 4 hours.
「信じられない。それが真相だというのかい？」
はい、私たちは見たままのことをお話ししています。
Root folded his arms and started humming again. The kitchen was once again absorbed by a long silence.
ジョージ様がにわかには信じられない気持ちも私はよくわかります。何しろこの目で確かに見たはずの私ですらあれが何だったのかわからなくなる。私は確かに見た。そして取っ組み合いまでしたはずなんです。なのにあれが全部幻だったような気すらする。
なるほどね。あのローザおばさんに詳しく話せないわけだ。今の話を本当にしてたらもっと面倒なトラブルになっていただろうね。なるほど。源氏さんが随分冷静な対応をしていたのが分かりました。
私にそれを説明するだけの力があればよかった。
George had not actually seen it, so even when pressed to believe, he just couldn't imagine it. It's only natural, because even the people who had actually seen it had ended up questioning themselves as to what it was.
話を少し巻き戻すよ。シャノンはカノン君が偽物かもしれないと思った時、クモの巣を取ってきたと言ったね。どうしてそんなことを？
そうだ、それは私も思っていました。どうしてクモの巣だったんです？
前に熊沢さんに聞いたことがあるんです。大昔の六軒島には悪霊が住んでいて、その 雲の巣を恐れたって。それで雲の巣を魔除けと尊んで大切にしたという昔話があるんだそうです。それでそのとっさに私も少し混乱していたんだと思います。
そんな話が。熊沢はそういう昔話に詳しかったな。
雲は液中ですからね。確かにそういう信仰があってもおかしくないかもしれない。
きっとその悪霊の力をあの鳥居の祠が封じ込めてたんだと思います。そして霊境が割られたので、その力が蘇ってベアトリーチェ様を蘇らせる力となってしまったに違いないのです。私が、心の弱かった私があんな大それたことをしなければ。
シャノン、その話はもうしなくても大丈夫だよ。僕は君を責めたりなんかしない。
Since long ago, Shannon often hinted at a certain occult aspect regarding how she had met George. Well, he did lend an ear to her tales. George had always thought that this was typical of a girl associating love with fate, chance, and miracles. George had thought that breaking the spirit mirror offered to the Torii shrine was going a little too far. He had forgiven her, laughing it off just as a little prank she'd done because she had seriously desired a relationship with him. Just breaking a mirror in some musty shrine wouldn't change the fate of our meeting. And that would never cause any curse. I remember cheering her up, saying it was only a musty mirror covered in dust.
ベアトリーチェ様という霊のような存在がいるという話は、この島に勤めるようになってから、最初はバカバカしいと思っていましたが、それを批判するとなんだか不謹慎そうな空気があったもので、私も表向きは信じているように振る舞っていきました。しかしまさか本当に。
いたんです。ベアトリーチェ様はずっとこのお屋敷におられたんです。でもベアトリーチェ様は力を失っておられて、私たちの前に姿を現すことができない。ずっといた。私たちが見えなかっただけなんです。
源氏さんの意見を聞きたいです。
私には何も意見は一つだけ申し上げたいのは、私たちはあの時ここに5人いた。そしてカノンが勝手口から帰ってきたと思った。
I've heard of this series a long time ago. It's the one I'm thinking of. But I don't think I ever watched it, or I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes.
使用人室に運び、何かが起こって南條先生と熊さんが帰らぬ、それだけです。私たちは見たもの、それを見ていないジョージ様に信じろというのは
信じられるわけがない。あれは間違いなくカノンさんだと思った。でもあいつがベッドから起き上がって、そうこんな風にしながら胸の傷をまさぐり始めた時、こいつはカノンさんじゃない、誰か別の存在なんだと直感し、ジョージ様にはわからないでしょう。よく知っていると思っていた人物が実は別人であることをさらけ出した瞬間の恐ろしさというものは説明できない。とても説明できるわけがない。
わかるよ。郷田さんがそれほどまでにショックを受けるどんな恐ろしいことがあったのか、僕は察するよ。
ありがとうございます。
Yeah, because I remember seeing ads for it, and then I feel like it just left, so maybe it went to a network that I didn't get.
ジョージ様。
They all went silent again. No matter how many times she was consoled, Shannon kept crying, weeping, that listening to the witch's sweet whispers and breaking the spirit mirror on that day had been where all of this had gone wrong.
君に囁いたという魔女は、その鏡があると力を失うんだね。
少し説明してくれた気がしますが、よく覚えていません。
I see.
あの鏡があると力が出せない。
君が割ったというその鏡はどうしたの？
覚えていません。多分割ったまま立ち去りましたか。
ということは岩礁が雷で打たれて消えたとかいう時に海の底か。まあ拾って接着剤で貼り付けたところでご利益は戻らないだろうけどね。
私が本当になんてことを。
ごめん、失言したよ。
He didn't know whether Shannon breaking the mirror had really been what had started everything off. The servants didn't go as far as to blame Shannon, but it seemed that they believed that it had been the trigger. Even now, there's no way George could believe that much. Even if he was told a story about witches and evil spirits, it just sounded fake to him. Even so, he listened seriously to Shannon's story, trying to find a hint that might relieve at least a little bit of the pain in her heart.
そういえばその鳥居にあったものとは違うでしょうが、奥様がお守りとして霊鏡をお持ちになっていると聞いたこと。
夏日おばさんが？
はい、おじい様の形見分けか何かでもらったものだそうで、とても強い魔除けの力を持つ由緒正しい霊鏡だとかなんとか。
同じ話は私も聞いたことがある。鏡は良くないものを反射して弾き返す力があるのだとか。
その霊鏡があれば魔女のベアトリーチェに対抗できるかな？
When George proposed this, the servants looked up.
祀っていた鳥居と祠はもうないかもしれないけれど、霊鏡がもう一枚あるのは重要なことだよ。夏日おばさんの実家は神職にも通じていると聞いたことがある。それは本当に単なる鏡ではないかもしれない。
確か奥様は宝物箱に入れて大事にしまっている、そんなに大きいものではないのかもしれん。
大きさの問題ではなかったと思う。私が割った鏡も一見大したことのない
相手がオカルトならこちらもオカルトの手段で対抗するしかない。ただこうして座っていても何も解決しない、単なる気休めだとしてもやってみる価値はあるよ。
Of course, this didn't mean that George had accepted the witch. However, he thought it would be necessary to have some kind of purification ceremony to heal the wounds in Shannon's heart. The story about Netsuhi's spirit mirror was just what the doctor ordered.
魔女をやっつけようなんて大それたことは言わないよ。でも魔女から身を守る魔除けがあってもいいと思う。
Except we don't have keys anymore.
前にマリアちゃんに聞いたんだけど、おじい様の部屋の扉は強力な魔除けが施されているんでしょ。さすがおじい様だね。オカルトに対する防御も十分だったわけだ。行こう、夏日おばさんの部屋へ。
しかし奥様の部屋には鍵がかかっていると思います。マスターキーはローザ様にお返ししてしまいましたし、キーボックスのある使用人室も施錠されてしまいましたし。
ならばその鍵は夏日おばさんが持ち歩いている礼拝堂にはまだ夏日おばさんの遺体があるはずだ。警察が来る前に勝手にいじってしまうのは悪いことだけれど。
しかし礼拝堂の入り口も鍵がかけられております。
合田さんの腕力じゃガラス1枚割れないのかい？その辺の石で叩き割ればいい。
大切な礼拝堂の窓を破ってしまっても、
おじい様に怒られるときは僕が責任を持つよ。僕はもともと今日後宮家の全員と戦うつもりでいた。君との婚約を許してもらうためにね。だから元よりその覚悟はある。ガラスを割ろう。そして夏日おばさんの遺体から鍵。
It seemed that George's claim that he would take responsibility had given the servants a great amount of courage. Shannon and Goda glanced at each other and looked at George's face again.
オカルトに詳しいおじい様だもの。夏日おばさんの霊鏡の力だってきっと理解してくれる。大丈夫、怒られたりなんかしない。
奥様の鏡で 本当にベアトリーチェ様をもう一度封じることが。
わからない。でも試す価値はあると思う。なら行こう。表はどんどん暗くなっちゃうよ。急ごう。シャノンは懐中電灯を、ゴーダさんはガラスを割れそうな道具を、ゲンジさんはすみません、傘の用意をお願いします。
はい。
The servants who had been rejected by Rosa started to move once again, having gained a new master. George, who was normally calm and gentle, was now exuding a commanding presence. Shannon checked the emergency flashlight, just in case she changed the batteries. Koda was examining several heavy-looking cooking tools. Normally, a self-respecting chef like himself wouldn't want to use them for anything other than their intended purpose. But now he was frantic to fulfill the orders of the one he'd accepted as his master. For some deliberation, he took a large, weighty frying pan. Genji removed several umbrellas from the umbrella stand set in the corner near the back door of the kitchen. He took 3 of them.
私はご一緒でご用命の時に全員がいないようなことがあっては後ろ宮家使用人頭として
そんな源氏さん、今のこの屋敷で一人でいることがどれだけ危険か。
私はいいけど親方様からいつお呼び出しがあってもいいように
源氏様
言ってジョージ様にお仕えくれぐれも粗相だ手本となるようよろしくと。
はい、お任せください。
必ずやお役目を果たします。
本当にいいんですね、源氏さん。
はい、私はもうこの年です。今日までの人生は全て親方様に受けたご恩をお返しにこのような老いぼれがどうなろうと全てはルールにし私はどのような結果が出るのか。
As Genji said that, he sat down. So saying he didn't intend to discuss this anymore, his gaze fell to the chessboard that he'd been playing on with Nanjo. When George saw this, he decided to leave Genji there.
行こう、みんな。今は少し風もおとなしいみたいだ。
George took an umbrella and dashed out into the hallway, and Shannon and Goda chased after him, each holding a tool. After they flew out of the room, Genji quietly extended his hand to the side of the chessboard. He softly pulled something that was there towards himself and hid it by covering it with his palm. Genji killed his breathing even more than before. As he did, something flashed gold. From inside an ice pail set on the counter, a small gold butterfly appeared softly and silently. It was almost as though it had watched George and the rest leave and was trying to secretly follow them. It happened in an instant. The gold butterfly, elegantly flapping its wings, was pinned against the wall by the knife Genji had thrown, just like a butterfly in a bug collection. After the gold butterfly beat its wings several times, looking like it was in pain, accepted the fact that it couldn't break free, became fine gold powder and smoke, and disappeared as though dissolving into water. Genji's gaze was still lowered at the chessboard as though nothing had happened. Maybe he would think up a brilliant move soon, but no matter what move he made, his opponent would not be able to respond for all eternity. Even though he knew that, Genji searched for a brilliant move. It must have been the perfect way to kill time during the short period before some fate would be given to him. He didn't know what result the roulette would bring about, but that decision would be made very soon. No one could interfere with the tumbling roulette ball. The door to the parlor was not only locked, but blocked with a barricade made of sofas and the like. Auntie Rosa seemed to suspect that if a suspicious person appeared, it would be by breaking the window. Sitting on a one-person sofa. Is that just not a chair? Her back to the door, she continued to hold on to her gun. I didn't know what was what anymore, and so my body and mind worn out, I was just playing with Maria however she wanted. In Maria's words, Beatrice was testing us to see whether we could solve the epitaph of the gold We had to challenge this riddle. In the beginning, I'd been a little interested and had tried to solve it, but I didn't have a clue what those weird paragraphs even meant in the first place. I didn't doubt that there was some riddle hidden there, but I couldn't imagine that I would solve it by chance. In the middle part of the epitaph, there were lines saying the journey to the Golden Land over the course of the 1st to the 10th twilight. In the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. In the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. It's obvious that this hinted at the first 6 murders that had already occurred in the chapel, and Jessica and Canon Kung's murders. If this was being followed, we would have to be prepared for yet 5 more people to be killed. On the 4th twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the 5th, gouge the chest and kill. Well, we can see... I guess we can see who died first. I guess your chest and your head, question mark. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. Bodies of Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa Bachan hadn't been found. However, if we reasonably assume that they were the sacrifices of the 4th and 5th twilights, they would surely be found in a pitiful state with their head and chest gouged. In which case, we expect that 3 more would be gouged in the stomach, knee, and leg and be killed. Who would that be? I looked around the room, noticing that there were 3 people here, but how should I say it, my emotion seemed paralyzed. Strangely, I didn't find it terrifying. Maria noticed me with my upper body and trusted to the sofa, gazing lazily up at the ceiling. Apparently, she felt I was slacking off in my riddle solving. She got mad at me and told me I wasn't being serious enough.
マリア。ベアトリーチェは確かこれを解いたらどうするって言ってたんだっけ?
I was sure that the witch had written in her letter that she would give up on collecting the interest or something abstract like that. I was optimistically taking that to mean she would give up on killing the whole family. But was it really written with that meaning? I didn't feel that solving this riddle would actually save us. I thought that even if I did solve it, that would be doing what the culprit wanted us to do, and so it would all be a wasted effort.
そんなことはない。この碑文が解けたら、ベアとの儀式はおしまいになる。だからもうそれ以上、誰も死ななくなる。
本当にか? そういうルールを奴が提示してるだけだろ? この謎を解けば、多分、じい様の隠し黄金のありかがわかるんだろう。奴は、きっとそれを狙って。
おお、狙わないよ。
なんでそう断言できる?
黄金は最初からベアとのものだもん。自分のものを狙ったりなんかしない。
じゃあ、どうしてベアとは俺たちにこんな大ヒントを授けてくれたんだ? というか、どうしてこんなゲームじみたことを仕掛けてきたんだ?
魔法にはリスクが必要なの。
She knows because she has like a spiritual connection and is spoken to Beatrice in this world and not the red letter world.
リスク? よく意味がわかんねえな。
例えばマラソン。完走すれば誰でももらえるメダルと、一番になった人しかもらえないメダルって同じ価値だと思う？
思わねえぜ。つまりなんだよ。結局、わざとこっちにチャンスを与えるようなことをして。違う！
それがね、魔法というものなの。どんな大きな魔法にも絶対にリスクや弱点があるの。ないといけないの。
魔法って言われるとピンとこねえが、ギャンブルだって考えれば少しは理解できるな。でかく失う覚悟がなきゃ、でかくは勝てない。そして、勝ち目の薄いギャンブルであればあるほど、配当はでかくなる。
その通りだよ。だからベアとは儀式のリスクをちゃんとみんなに説明したの。だからこの謎を解けばちゃんと儀式は中断される。だってそれを約束違反したらリスクにならない。
これを解けば
花は枯れるのにどうして美しいの？ 造花は見分けがつかないほど精巧でも、どうして美しくないの？人間は死をトスから奇跡が起こせる。不死の人間がいたとして、その人物に何の奇跡も起こせる道理はな。私たちも人生も魔女も儀式も、私たちはリスクを負わなければ何も成し遂げられないの。
謎が解けたらどうするんだ？ピンポーンって鳴らして挙手して回答を魔女に伝えて答え合わせをするのか？
それは知らない。でも解けばきっと自動的に儀式は終わる。
マリアは詳しいな。そいつはみんなベアトリーチェに。
So if you don't bear risk, nothing can be gained. It's doubtlessly the way of the world. It was in conflict with the chessboard theory style of thinking that I liked. Move in chess is always a search for the best play that minimizes the risk and promises an advantageous turn of events. You don't trust your plays to chance like in gambling. That's right, there's no room for gambling in an intellectual game. If this person called Beatrice was carrying out such an outrageous crime, or maybe a ritual, while purposefully imposing conditions for her own loss and announcing them to us. In chess, you always play the best move. By standing in your opponent's position, you can predict their next move. However, you couldn't say for sure that Beatrice's moves were always the best moves. I thought she was probably making us focus on the epitaph as a smokescreen to mislead us about something. I mean, interestingly enough, if you look at chess, so when you make a move in chess and have it analyzed, there's like grades of your move. And the best moves, the most brilliant moves, are where you sacrifice a piece to gain something much further, or like down the line. It doesn't have to be much further. But that could be sacrificing your queen to force checkmate. Maria said that all of these things was impossible. She said that this was a genuine risk the witch had taken, and therefore proof that this was a formal magical ritual. You can't understand this witch called Beatrice. She must be committing this chain of murders with some goal in mind. So why would she deliberately expose the conditions for her own defeat? No matter how I flip over the chessboard and think from my opponent's perspective, I can't understand why she would give up if this riddle was solved. Isn't it almost as though Beatrice doesn't care whether she wins or loses? It's natural that chessboard reasoning wouldn't work if you played chess against an opponent like this. I don't understand. What is Beatrice after that's making her commit this crime? If she just wants to massacre us all, she could do it secretly without this whole crazy setup. There's no need for that scrupulous advance notice, dramatic suggestions of locked rooms or anything. It's all over-dramatized. I don't get the point of it at all. As long as I continue to think of Beatrice as a greedy human culprit, will I be unable to understand anything? If I don't accept her as a witch, will I be unable to even set the pieces on the chessboard at all? If she really is a witch, and everything Maria had said is true, there's only one thing we should have been doing. We shouldn't have been bothering with any of the reasoning or the discord or the searching for the culprit. We should have all gathered in the dining hall and pooled our knowledge to solve the riddle. If we'd pooled the knowledge of that many people, maybe we would have been able to at least grasp a thread of the answer. We greedy humans desired to gain something more than one other. Never pooled our knowledge, nor being offered up as sacrifices one by one. In the end, we were humans getting what we deserved. We thought we were thinking, but we were actually thinking only of our greedy selves. In the end, chessboard theory is a technique of thinking where you project yourself on your opponent. So greedy people look inside their opponents and see their greedy selves. I looked vaguely at Auntie Rosa. She was probably tired from being under all this tension the whole time. She wasn't sleeping, but she was continually staring vaguely at some point off in space. Auntie Rosa proclaimed that she couldn't trust anyone who had not been killed. Auntie Rosa's chessboard thinking saw herself inside her opponent. In other words, Auntie Rosa might be an isolated woman, unable to trust anyone and unable to let her guard down. Long ago, I think I heard a bit about it from my dad. Auntie Rosa had originally been a very obedient child, but because of her age was so far separated from her other siblings, and because her confrontational siblings had often made conflicting demands of her, she had been going through psychological hardship ever since she was young. Apparently, when she'd taken the side of one sibling, often another gave her a hard time for it. Certainly Auntie Rosa had said many things that could be taken as abusive language, but those were words that had been engraved into her vocabulary because they had been showered upon her as well. So, on Reddit, I'm part of the Umineko subreddit, and I saw there was a thread. I didn't click into it because I didn't want any spoilers, but it was basically discussing which adult is the worst adult. Now that I think about it, I have the feeling that her style of speech today has occasional traces of Uncle Kraus and Auntie Eva in it. I just assumed the similarity came from being siblings, but maybe that wasn't the case. For the first time, I was able to sympathize from my heart with Auntie Rosa, who I had come to think of as being only gentle. Then what about Maria? Maria had been claiming something for a while. If it solved the riddle that the witch had presented to us, the ritual would be halted, and we would definitely be saved. I think she also said that Beatrice would never break a promise she made. That describes Maria herself. She's the one with the most innocent heart who would never break a promise. But she believed that Beatrice wouldn't break a promise either. She could believe that. But wasn't that just an image of Beatrice that Maria imagined? There's no proof that the real Beatrice definitely keeps her promises, right?
わらわは約束は守る。気分の謎を解けば黄金鏡へ至ることができるだろう。さすれば儀式は終わる。それ以上誰も死にはせぬ。
お前みたいな外道の極みが。
わらわが残忍で卑劣で外道であることを否定はせぬ。
I'm still not writing down that whole, tirade she went on after laughing in red.
だが、わらわは魔女だ。魔法を使う。魔法を使うには、守らねばならぬルールがある。わらわは魔女だからこそ、それをないがしろにできぬのだ。それだけは信じるがよい。
これだけめちゃくちゃやってきて。それでもルールだけは信じろ。
わらわはたぶらかしはする。もちろん人も騙す。人間と変わらぬ。だが、約束として口にしたことを保護にしたことは一度もない。人間はどうか約束を必ず守るのか？
約束を守ろう。ちゃんと履行されてるかどうかは疑わしいな。
わらわから見れば人間の方がよっぽど利己的で下道な存在よ。人間の約束ほど疑わしいものはない。わらわも時に人間と契約するが、くだらない願い一つ叶えるのに、どれほど厳重に取り決めをするか想像もつくまい。少しでも隙があると、連中はすぐに、叶える願いの数を100に増やせとか、小さな豆粒に変身してみろとか言い出す。
親父によく言われたぜ。契約書ほど怖えもんはねえって。よく読まずにハンコを押すやつは、骨の髄まで喋られて当然悪徳で荒稼ぎしてやがったんだな。
察しろ。人は生まれながらに詐欺を知りはせぬ。どこかで被った。だから覚えた。押し付け合わずにはいられぬ人の世の罪。はて、どこの魔女に聞いたやら。まあいい。そなたが思っているほど、わらわも無慈悲ではないぞ。
嘘をつけ、これだけの大勢を。しかもまたこんな残酷な方法で殺しておいて、何が無慈悲ではないだ。約束は守るだと？いい加減なことを言うな。俺はお前を認めない。断じてそれを譲らないことだけがお前への抵抗だと俺は信じてる。
なるほど。永遠の苛波であるのはわらわに対しても同じであるというわけか。かもしれぬな。1000年は長い。魔女の強さは魔力より我慢強さで決まるのかもしれんな。なるほど。ベルン教の恐ろしさもうなずける。
Baron Castell she's referring
何
to.
をわけのわかんねえ話をブツブツ言ってやがる。さっさと永遠の苛波とやらを続けろよ。
Without spoiling too much, Lady Baron Castell is it annoys me because it's officially said that this is not canon, but that's a load of BS in my opinion. She's basically the amalgamation of what happens to one character in Higurashi.
俺は1000年でも1万年でも付き合う覚悟だぜ。
よいよい。少しは戦う気力も戻ってきたようだな。そうでなければつまらない。ほら、対戦ゲームでもよくあるだろう。乱入したけど、相手があまりに弱くて拍子抜けで、わざと負けて最終ラウンドまで延長さ、最後に本気でフルボッコにすることとかって。
例えの意味がわかんない。
ワインと同じよ。よく熟成させねば輝かぬ。お前は、それに耐えられるワインだ。わらわがじっくり熟成させてやる。そなたを、わらわの優雅な時間を彩る最高の美酒に育て上げてやるぞ。だから、この程度で屈服などするな。わらわを引き続き否定してくれよ。何しろわらわは、そなたが認めぬ限り、儚き幻想に過ぎぬのだから。
何度見ても辛いな。
Oh, yes, they broke in.
教授、お察しします。シャノンさん、鍵を頼みます。お亡くなりになられたとはいえ、奥様はレディーです。私には触れることができません。
はい。
Shannon nodded sharply, her expression filling with a sense of duty. George, Goda, and Shannon had broken a suitable window and were inside the chapel. So they hadn't really wanted to break when they'd searched for another way in just in case. In the end, that only proved once again that there was nowhere else that anyone could slip in through. And that emphasized further how inscrutable was the chapel's locked room. Inside the chapel, time had stopped since they had left it earlier. Of course, even George could not approach a horrible Halloween party again. It was only natural. This made him remember again the sadness of losing both his parents at once. And go to thinking of the possibility that their bodies might have changed in some horrible way that half a day had passed, didn't want to let George approach. Shannon followed Goda's instructions and approached the party table. Normally, Shannon might have resented having another dirty job forced on her, but now she could truly understand Goda's mental state. Despite Goda's prestigious skill, he'd gotten into trouble, lost his job, and been left out in the streets, and then Natsuhi had given him a new life. Even though it had just been a casual employment for Natsuhi, Goda must have felt that it was a turning point in his fate. Those around Goda could see he felt a special kind of loyalty to Natsuhi. He probably didn't want to lose that feeling, even though she was dead. Now that half a day had passed, the bodies of Natsuki and the rest had changed completely. Small bugs that had sniffed out the smell of death had started to gather. It really wasn't something you could look at directly. Because of her long experience as a servant, Shannon had an idea of which pocket Natsuki had kept the key to her room in. Probably in this pocket. Her guess didn't fail her. So by touching the outside of the pocket, she was immediately able to feel it. Shannon held the key up high, showing the others it had been found. As George and Goda watched her, their eyes opened wide. That wasn't the expression Shannon was expecting, so it startled her. Because Shannon hadn't noticed. George and Goda, watching from afar, had been able to notice it first. Because Shannon had held the key up high, a blizzard of gold leaf had billowed up from around the table. There were countless gold butterflies. This was the first time George had seen them. To him they might have looked fantastical. Goda already knew. He knew that those gold butterflies, far from being beautiful, held sway over something disastrous.
シャノンさん、走って。
She ran unsteadily, her expression still shocked. As she did, the gold butterflies danced around Shannon in unison. They grouped together. They tried to swallow her up.
シャノン！くそ、なんだこれは。これが君たちの言っていた黄金の蝶なのか。
早く外へ。こいつらめ。くそ、くそ。
George and Goda rushed up to Shannon, driving off the group of butterflies. And while the butterflies were scattered, they ran towards the broken window. However, they needed good footing to get out of the window, which was surrounded with shards of broken glass. When they'd entered, there had been enough time to prepare for that, but now there was none.
扉から出よう。足場を探してる時間なんかない。
開かない。硬い。
貸して。くそ、このオンポロが。
ジョージ様、お早く。くそ、なめるな。
I like the idea that Goda's just punching at butterflies this whole time. Also, dang it, Sam says, why did he have to ask if they will break out? Goda took off his jacket, swinging it around and scattering the group of butterflies. But he was vastly outnumbered. It was doubtful that it even bought them a short amount of time. George struggled with the virtually broken handle. Its age showed, and it didn't turn well. Brute force alone won't do it. It needs the right angle or some trick.
ジョージ様、くそー、この化け物どもが。
Just then, Goda saw it. He was seen by it. In other words, their eyes met. Top of the party table, now floating above it, backed by a stained glass window, laughing, the figure of the witch. He saw the figure of the witch laughing in the center of the golden whirlwind, allowing the butterflies to attend to her whims. It should have been Goda's first meeting with her, but he knew her at a glance. Just like the other servants had said, this was certainly the witch of the portrait herself.
そろそろ晩餐の時間ではないか。すでにわらわはこの屋敷のホストである。そなたらを素晴らしきディナーで歓待しなくてはならぬというおあつらえ向きに3人ではないか。
Remember, there's 3 left. Knee, leg, and
これは
foot, maybe?
実に好都合。
開いた。
I'll use cursor.
What are you trying to do with cursor?
The rules aren't being used.
Samus says hi.
Hi, Samus. Do you know how to use cursor?
Her cursor rules are being rules.
Not being applied, I don't know why.
Samus doesn't know. Infran also says hello. Infran.
Hello. Struggling.
足を止めてもよいのか？ここがそなたらの墓場にふさわしいというなら、それもよかろうぞ。
Guess we know where Beatrice is. Still haven't seen Kinzo in a very long time. The golden whirlwind enshrouded the witch burst. It was like an evil hand had literally spread its fingers and was trying to attack them. A group of gold butterflies attacked the whoosh sound. George's voice brought Shannon and Goda back to themselves. Standing here would now be the same as a frog being stared down by a snake. They had to resist. They had to fight this incarnation of the new, brutal, and frightening order that had enveloped Rokkenjima. I'm sure there are some snakes that eat frogs. There was no time to take out their umbrellas. The three of them dashed out into the pouring rain. They never realized, because they didn't turn around, that the gold butterflies apparently couldn't handle the rain too well. It's hampered their ability to chase after the three. The three people ran from their golden pursuers and fled into the mansion. They unlocked the door and flew into the room. A bit of the scent from Natsui's favorite gentle incense remained in the room. But there was no time to let that calm them now.
話に聞いただけです。実際にどこにあるかまでは。
多分お化粧台かベッドの脇にあるんじゃないかと思います。
Shannon claimed that because of her woman's scent, but in the corner by the bed was only an incense burner, a half-read novel, and a pair of glasses. But the dresser was elegant and had many drawers. It'd be understandable if she'd kept some of her valuables there. He began to violently open each one of the drawers. He had to hurry. He couldn't actually hear footsteps, but he had the feeling that the witch was approaching. He had the feeling that her laugh was approaching. He pulled out the drawers one by one and examined their contents. Every small box for makeup looked like a treasure box. The amount of effort it would take to inspect all of them made him feel a little dizzy. At a glance, it looked slightly larger than a music box. When shaken, it rustled, as though various small objects were inside. But it was locked and wouldn't open. Goda looked all over the room, trying to see if there was some tool that they could use. He noticed the door had been left open ever since they'd entered. Approached the door to close it. Noticed the abominable shadows of people approaching from beyond the realm, beyond the darkness in the hall. No, the phrase shadows of people wasn't right, because that referred to human shadows. Being called the shadows of being that aren't humans, shadows of people. Goda's voice trailed off. The shock from seeing a procession of those not of this world. He was a servant, so he knew all of the servants that worked for the Ushiromiya family. He didn't know about these. However, they were definitely servants. They weren't servants working for Ushiromiya Kinzo or Ushiromiya Kraus. They were new servants who worked for the new master of the mansion, the Golden Witch Beatrice, and who had goat heads and bright red, boiled eyes of lava. And beam swords. This new master laughed loudly and trimly directed 6 of the new servants. He saw her pierce the darkness as she came. Of course, she was clad in the gold butterflies that were her symbol. Could have hurriedly closed the door and locked it. That door doesn't have a keyhole, but sure. However, the instant he locked it, it returned to normal, just as though it had been knocked back by a spring or something. Almost gave the illusion that some pranks from the other side of the door was opening every time he closed it. Distance-wise, they shouldn't have reached the other side of the door yet. Then who, how? Felt just like playing with a broken toy. Click boing, click boing.
しまらない。閉めても開いてしまう。どうなってんだこりゃ。クソクソクソクソ。
鍵がわらわを拒むと思うか。その部
Maybe
屋
it's one
の
of those ones where
新
you
しき
like you push the thing
その
in
部
and
屋
like
の
turn
扉が
it.
拒むと思うのか。
It was like the witch could see Gota's frantic effort through the door. Even as he struggled, their footsteps continued to approach. They were not footsteps, but their breath too could be heard. Gota gave up on the lock and rammed the door with his shoulder, making the lock his own large body.
早く早く早く。
ジョージ様、これはどうでしょう。
レターオープナーか。そっちの方がいいね。貸して。万年筆じゃうまくいかない。
George took it and once again dug into the crack under the lid of the treasure box. Looks like it's working.
早く早く。
Pressure from across the door grew even stronger. Gota screamed. It was no war cry for this test of strength. He was terrified. He was simply terrified, except for a single wooden door, he would be touching something not of this world. But he was still lucky. He wasn't touching them directly, as they were still on the other side of the door. So it was natural that if he did touch them directly, Gota's cry would turn from something brave into a shameful and yet very real scream that would make glass shatter. Gota couldn't believe what was right before his eyes. Going through the door, an arm, almost as though it was sticking through the surface of water, slipped through as though it was perfectly natural, stroked the back of Gota's hand as he tried desperately to hold the door closed. It traced slowly up his arm to his chest and then his chin. By now, Gota's scream was not even vocalized. Hear a sweet whispering voice from across the door. It wasn't coming from the witch, but judging by the sound of the voice, it was a young woman. There was no difference in the fact that it was a voice from one not of this world. That obscene arm burst apart. They heard the sound of something jumping around the room at an incredible speed. They didn't know what it was. Incredibly fast, small, like steel or maybe a beetle. And it buried itself right in the center of Gota's chest and stopped. For the first time they realized that its true form was like a stake with a strange design on it. Its large body shook, bent backwards, and fell over. As it did, the door opened softly, even though no one was pushing it, and the new masters of this room were welcomed in. It looked almost as though the door itself had accepted them. The goat attendants entered one after another, 6 of them. Then the witch entered, and the golden butterflies entered. The room was wrapped in a blizzard of gold leaf which fell and piled up, turning into a world of gold.
Shano, ルーレットはそなたとジョージを選んだ。解放の日に感謝せよ。未練はあ
Note
る。
Beatrice's clothing change.
ないよな。惚れた男から婚約指輪をもらって夜も共にしないうちに殺されてしまっても未練なんかないよ。女の幸せを教えてもらいたかったんだろう。ああ、シャーノン、ダメダメ、垂れてるぜ。お前ダラダラ垂れてんのが見えるぜ、シャーノン。
Crack. The sound of the lid to the treasure box breaking and opening. George turned it over. Out fell accessories, charms, various small objects that Natsuhi had treasured when she was a girl. Mixed in with those was a pouch that stood out from the rest. He picked it up and checked it immediately. This was it.
見つけた。これだ。
いいって及ばなかったの。死ね。
All at once, the gold butterflies attacked George, who was painfully slowly trying to remove the contents of the pouch. Just then, it seemed like, for just an instant, a bright red flash lit up the room. That red flash seemed to wipe out the golden butterflies that were raging around the room. Then a circle drawn with Shannon at the center. Therefore it was a very divine scene, almost as though a single streak of light had cut through the clouds and the ceiling in this world of gold. George was curled in a ball trying to protect himself from a group of butterflies, didn't have a clue what had occurred. Then he noticed that Shannon was blocking the way to him, shielding him. The serious face that she had never shown him before as she glared at the witch and the rest.
忘れていた。そなたもまた金蔵の優れた家具だったな。
I think all of the servants technically have magic. What causes them to unlock, like, Goda just dies? Yeah.
それもカノンよりだいぶ熟成した。カノン君はよくも。
But we've also seen from Jeez. What's your name? Genji. He clearly has abilities, whether they're human or not, to just throw knives at things.
殺したことじゃない。よくも亡骸を消し去り、その名誉まで汚そうとしたな。
おやおや、シャーノン、それを怒ってるのか？カノンに会えなくて寂しいならわらわに頼めよ。
When the witch snapped her fingers, one of the 6 goat attendants glittered gold and changed into cannon. It was definitely a sight to make one doubt their eyes. It was definitely Cannon's face. However, in those eyes, there's none of the sincere glint of Cannon's. They were only the clouded eyes of furniture that did nothing but obey the orders of the witch. George couldn't understand the scene right before his eyes. Finally understood why Goda and the rest had been unable to talk about what they had seen in the servant room.
楽しいですか？
あ 楽しいぞ。死が引き裂いた二人を再会させるのはいつだって楽しい。死で引き裂いて一度、合わせて二度、もう一度引き裂いて三度楽しめるのだからな。さあカノ、姉と遊んでやりなさい。もし痛めつけられたら思いっきり苦悶の表情を浮かべてやるといい。
From the imposter king's arm, a strangely shining trail extended. They planned to tear Shannon apart with that. Shannon, who still hadn't prepared her heart with a single stroke.
許さない。一度ならず二度までも死者を汚すなんて。
ほざくな。弟に殺されろよ、シャーノ。きっといい夢が見られるぜ。
As the imposter cannon drew several purple trails, he definitely had attacked Shannon. When he flew at Shannon, it felt like some kind of invisible wall had been set up in front of her. Bright red ripple trails left on the wall, and it repelled the imposter. No, it didn't repel him, it smashed him. It knocked him back, turning him to golden dust, into pieces, scattering him. The figure of the foolish furniture who had mocked Cannon's form and even disgraced his honor after his death broke into countless gold butterflies. And those butterflies themselves broke into pieces, and those pieces were broken into pieces, until they were no longer butterflies, but a spray of gold, and disappeared. I mean, we have the clear reveal that the cannon we saw before, the demon cannon, is just in fact one of the goat servants that can transform. And I guess we also see that that Shannon, as another servant, can use powers.
中心軸をずらしたくない。
これは驚いた。虫一匹殺せない面をしてこれだけの力を見せたか。なるほど。
They are not actual siblings. They come from the same orphanage, and in that orphanage they're taught to treat each other as if they were siblings, but they're not blood related, at least not to our knowledge.
しかしその霊境の本当の力を引き出すには準備も時間も足りないな。そのどちらもわらわは与えはせぬ。
The spirit mirror George grabbed was letting out a divine radiance and displaying its strength not to submit to wicked power. But that radiance was no match for the witch's sinister nature.
これだから家具は怖い。予期せずしてタンスの角にぶつける足の小指のような気持ちよ。これだから家具は怖い。家具が家具。
私は家具じゃない。そしてあなたを今はとても哀れに思う。
何？ほう。1000年の魔女に100年も至らぬ家具が今何と言ったか。
あなたはとても哀れな人。愛し合う二人に未練がないわけがない。でもあなたの期待するような未練はかけらほどもない。
語るか。家具の分際でジョージと結ばれたくてわらわの靴を舐めた日々を忘れてわらわにそれを語るか。
愛に生き泥念を這うが人間。それを嘲笑い見下しているつもりであなたはそれにはるかに劣る。私は今こそあなたを哀れに思う。愛し合う二人にとって 添い遂げることにどれほどの意味が。意味はある、きっとある。でもそれはあなたの言うこととは全然違う。もっと新鮮にして、あなたごとき邪悪が口にする資格もないほどの新鮮な意味がある。だから私にはすでに何の未練もない。ジョージさんと愛を誓い合った。その証として指輪を受け取った。それで永遠の誓いは完了した。あなたがどんな邪悪な魔法や悪意で私たちを災難だとしても。
綺麗事を詩人のように語るな。愛は情欲なんだよ。少女漫画見たく綺麗事ばっかりで語れねえんだよ。男どもはお前の匂いに惹かれて群がるウジバエどもなんだよ。そんなこともその年でまだ理解できねえのかよ。お前は失望するぜ。その後ろのメガネ男のどす黒い欲望。一度がっかり愕然唖然呆然、全然ダメだぜショーノン。ああ、もういいや、語るな家具が。この家具何様のつもりだよ、語りやがって。愛なんて結局はど汚ねえ汚物をどう綺麗に見せようかって欺瞞なんだよ。そいつに気づいて人は大人になるんだろう。死ねよクズ。家具スクラップ。お前を汚らわしいウジ虫に変えてやるよ。それでもそのメガネがお前を愛するか試してやるよ。そいつの愛のどぎたねえ現実ってやつを教えてやるよ。死ねよガラクタが。てめえが愛を語るんじゃねえ。
The invisible column of light with Shannon at the center started to have bright red ripples drawn all over it at once. The wall did its best to withstand the invisible malice that was trying to corrode it from all directions.
なんだよそれは。抵抗してるつもりかよ。安っぽいんだよ、薄っぺらいんだよ。お前の綺麗事と同じなんだよ、見せかけだけの薄っぺら。見たくないものをベールで覆って隠してるだけなんだよ。まだわかんないのかよ。だから家具なんだよ、家具。ほら削られてるぜ。カリカリコリコリガリガリゴリゴリなんて薄くて情けないんだよ。お前のその薄っぺらな抵抗に比べたらパルミジャーノレッジアーノの方がまだ削るのに苦労がいるぜ。
The golden windstorm that covered the room gradually shaved away the walls of the column that protected Shannon and George. Bright red ripples frantically drew a pattern of resistance, but the wall was beginning to envelop the two, becoming instead a red wall of despair.
庄司さん、ごめんなさい。やはり私には無理でした。
ありがとう。君は僕のために。それだけで嬉しいよ。
As the column that had once protected them was assaulted and covered with a trail of blood-curdling red ripples, it contracted. It began to suck the two of them up instead. Shannon grasped George's hand behind her. George hugged her shoulders just as strongly.
最後に愛してるって聞かせてください。
ああ、さよ。 僕は君を永遠
I don't know if he gets to say it. And that is where we'll call it for tonight. I'm glad we're able to see the end of that. With that, I think everyone for the ritual is gone. We just have the remaining... Do we just have the remaining 5? You're dead, you're dead. No, one more person needs to die. I think. Oh no, we're down to the remaining 5. But yeah, thanks to everyone who tuned in. We're near the end of this. I'm hoping that means that next time we can finish this off. It just depends how long the post chapter tea party and then the post tea party are. Like I said, next week we'll have to play by ear when if and when I can stream, because like I said, we have to move our desks for some construction that's going on. So if they get it all done, might be back in time for next Friday, but we'll have to play that by ear. Yeah. Until next time, everyone, take care, stay safe. I will see you all again next time. Bye for now.